This is the new Ricoh GR4. Is it a game changer or merely another hype? Ricoh claims that it has new image sensor, redesigned lens, faster autofocus, better image stabilization. However, how do these improvements translate to real-world shooting? That's what we want to find out in this video. Let's do this! As usual, before we start, here are some important disclaimers. I have no connection or affiliation with Ricoh. This camera was sent to me as a loan unit, and after making my content, I have to return this camera to Futuromic, which is the distributor of Ricoh and Pentax products in Malaysia. Special thanks to Futuromic for giving me this opportunity to test the Ricoh GR4. This is not a review of this Ricoh camera. I don't have enough time to test the camera extensively and go through every single feature and really dive into all the capabilities of the camera. I'm merely sharing what I like and dislike about this camera, my experience using this Ricoh GR4 for my street photography in Kuala Lumpur. And of course, I'm sharing plenty of images that I've shot with this camera. I had about 1 week with the camera, and here are some of the shots. Let's start with the things that I really like about this Ricoh GR4. Number one, I love that it is so small, so compact, so slim. It's truly pocketable. It is so easy to carry around, just slip in your pocket. And the best camera is the camera that you have with you at all times. Number two, sharp lens. Ricoh claims that they have redesigned the latest lens they use in this Ricoh GR4. Looking at the results I get from this camera, I must say I'm very impressed with what the lens can do. The lens manages to resolve plenty of fine details, very sharp images, even at wide open f2.8. And stopping down further to f4 5.6, the sharpness improves a little bit, but I will not hesitate to shoot at wide open f2.8. Sharpness is also consistent from corner to corner, edge to edge, no issue whatsoever, and the technical flow controls are also very good. I don't notice any distortion or any chromatic aberration or any other big issues. Most of the flows are very well controlled. So for such a tiny lens in this small camera, good job, Ricoh. Number three, new image sensor. Well, technically, this is the latest image sensor made by Sony. It is a new and different one compared to the previous Ricoh GR3, and I do quite like the results I get from this image sensor in the GR4. When it comes to dynamic range, I have no issue with harsh conditions. I can easily recover details from extreme highlights or extreme shadows, creating a balanced image, toning down the harshness. And I did not test the low light performance. I did not shoot in extreme low light because most of my street photography, they are done in broad daylight. But perhaps I'll do one more video just specifically to test the low light performance of this GR4. Number 4, This is the improvement that I'm most excited about: autofocus performance. I've said this previously on the predecessors GR3 and GR3X. I wasn't happy with the autofocus performance. It wasn't that it was too sluggish, but for my test, for what I want to do with my street photography, my autofocus requirement, when I see something happening very quickly, I point the camera at it, I press the shutter button, do I get the shot? It is always very quick, very reflexive. The camera has to act very, very, very fast in that split second. Well, previously GR3, GR3X, these cameras, they almost always fail. A very high failure rate compared to hit rate, but I am very happy to report that with this GR4, my hit rate was almost 100%. If I miss any shots, it is most likely my own fault. The autofocus performance has improved so much. It is so fast, so accurate, and very reliable. What I do is I just select the area of focus that I want from the touch screen on the LCD screen and press the shutter button, and I almost always guaranteed to get the shot. I'm very happy with this. Great job, Ricoh. I'm sure some die-hard Ricoh GR fans will quickly point out that, hey Robin, but there is snap focus. You can use that in Ricoh GR3 and you don't have to worry about autofocus. It will surely grab the shot. You should try the snap focus, it's so good. Well, if I'm gonna pay so much for this camera, I expect the autofocus performance to be top-notch. Snap focus is just a poor excuse for poor autofocus. And if I were to use snap focus, I don't need this camera. I can use an old camera with a manual focusing lens and use zone focusing. And there you go, I get my snap focus already. If I'm getting this camera, the latest and greatest, I expect the autofocus to be really good. Is that so much to ask for? Really? No autofocus, no go for Robin. Perhaps what I'm most surprised about was number 5, image stabilization. Because previously in the Ricoh GR3, GR3X, although these cameras have image stabilization, it wasn't really effective. I was shooting at 1/10, 1/15 of a second. I still get some shake. The stabilization wasn't really working very well, but that's not the same story with this GR4. Ricoh claimed that the stabilization effectiveness is rated at about 6 stops. They are not kidding. Based on my quick test, hand holding the GR4 without bracing myself on anything, I can steady the shot down to 4 seconds exposure. 4 seconds is freaking impressive and still come out with really sharp images. I tried to go to 8 seconds and of course it was a blurry mess, but 4 seconds is already more than enough, more than I can ask for from this camera. During my street photography, I don't need to shoot at 4 seconds exposure or anything more than 1 second. Of course, for creative, inducing motion kind of shot in my photographs, some dramatic effect, I usually shoot at 1/8 of a second, 1/4 of a second. The parts that are moving are blurring the image, but the parts that are not moving, they are still perfectly sharp. This image stabilization is a real game changer. Number 6, I really like the responsiveness of this GR4. Overall, it's a very smooth camera to use. Shot-to-shot performance was incredibly fast. There's minimal lag. And when I change controls or navigate through the menu, everything is very smooth. The camera is super, super responsive. I can't say the same with some other cameras, even now in the year 2025, but it's such a joy to use the very smooth, very responsive camera, especially for street photography when I need the camera to respond instantaneously. Number 7, Handling. The GR4 has really good handling. Of course, the camera is already very small, very light, but not many people can make small cameras that handle well. This camera, although it's so small, but Ricoh didn't really compromise on the handling. There is this hand gripping area that is very substantial, very comfortable to hold for the fingers to grip on, and there is this really nice rubberized texture that helps with preventing the area from being slippery. Your fingers won't slip off easily. You can securely hold on and grip onto this camera very, very tightly. That is something that I really appreciate. And overall, the camera is just such a joy to use. I've used the camera for several hours shooting on the streets of Kuala Lumpur. I don't feel any strains on my fingers, on my wrist, or any parts of my body. Handling was surprisingly good for this GR4. Number 8. Now, this is something that I wish every other manufacturers would implement as well. Built-in internal storage. This GR4 has 53 gigabytes built-in memory, which means I don't even need an external card to record my images. I just grab the camera, power it on, it's ready to go. That's more than enough for one session street photography. And of course, the GR4 accepts micro SD cards. Some people may not like this, but who cares? It has internal memory. I don't need a micro SD card. I just power on the camera and start snapping away already. It is as easy as that. There are some things that I dislike about this Ricoh GR4. Number 1, the thumb gripping area. There's just too many adjustments and buttons placed too closely together, cramped at that one location. This compromises handling a little bit. When I'm carrying the camera around, moving it, it's just too easy to press and accidentally adjust any of the camera settings there. I'm not saying the handling is bad. I still think the handling of the camera is very, very good. I just wish Ricoh didn't put everything there crammed so tightly together. Maybe move the buttons and adjustments a little bit further away. Number 2, I don't think the plus-minus adjustment buttons is a good idea. Basically, the main reason for these buttons to be there, they're used for exposure compensation mostly. I still prefer to use the traditional dial, a control wheel, to just quickly scroll through. It's just so much more efficient rather than pressing the buttons repeatedly or even holding down the button. It just doesn't have the same tactile feel as a wheel or a dial. And I think it wastes too much space there. It's not supposed to be there, like I said already in the previous point. It is at a very important area of the camera that's a thumb gripping area. It's just unnecessary. Number 3, total blackout when shooting burst. When you activated the burst sequential shot, shooting continuous shots consecutively, well, you see nothing. The screen is totally black. And this blackout is really unnecessary because a lot of modern cameras can prevent this from happening. I don't expect it to be completely free of blackouts. You may have some blackouts in between shots, but still allow us to see a little bit, to compose and follow the movement of the subjects if we are moving the camera around. Having a total blackout when burst, and usually we shoot burst when we want to follow a subject that is moving, it's just impossible. It's a lot of guesswork, and I do use burst sometimes for my street photography. It's quite a bummer that I can't see what's happening while I'm shooting burst. Number 4, well, this is not exactly a complaint and I don't dislike it. It's about the screen on the camera. The LCD screen could have been better, could have had higher resolution, could be a little bit brighter. Not that I have difficulty composing my shots using the screen under bright sunlight. It is still quite visible. It's not a bad screen, it's just that it is also not the best screen available now, and this is not a cheap camera. You're paying a lot from this camera. and I expect a little bit of higher resolution, a little bit of better brightness from the LCD screen. And finally, number 5, and perhaps this is my second biggest complaint after the total blackout shooting burst, is the battery life. In about 2 hours shooting duration, I almost emptied the battery and it only gave me about 300 to 400 shots. I've shot with this camera for about 4 separate sessions and the average is about the same, 2 hours giving me 300 to 400 shots. Now, there are other cameras about the same size or slightly larger that can give me at least twice or more capacity compared to what this GR4 can do. To be entirely honest, none of the complaints I've made about this Ricoh GR4 are actually deal breakers. Yes, the total blackout is a bummer. I wish I can see while I'm shooting burst. Yes, the battery life could be better and the button placement could be improved. But any of this, there are small matters and you still can use this camera effectively as a street photography machine. I think that the autofocus is impressive. I think that the image stabilization is incredible. I think that this camera is capable in delivering sharp, really beautiful images. I think it's a capable camera that can perform really well if you're serious about shooting on the street. If you want a camera that has a fixed 28mm equivalent lens, if you do a lot of street photography with a wide-angle 28mm lens, if that's what you do, I think this GR4 is the almost perfect camera for you. I understand the price tag is not exactly friendly and it's quite high for what it's asking for, but if you really look around, there's not really that many alternatives. And this is quite a unique proposition where it has everything built in such a tiny package that is really, really pocketable. I've talked about a few cheaper budget alternatives before, but none of those comes close with the performance and what this Ricoh GR4 can do being such a tiny pocketable size. I know there are other issues that I haven't touched on. Like I said, this is not a full review. I cannot cover every aspect. And one of them is the popular complaint of the previous GR3 and GR3X camera where the dust goes into the camera and it lands on the image sensor, which causes a lot of problems. I obviously can't test this camera because it is only with me for about 1 week and so far I don't see any dust problems and it's not enough for me to conclude that the dust problems don't exist. Likewise, there are a lot of other things about the camera that I cannot test yet, but hey, I'm just sharing what I can with the limited time that I have with the camera. So far, I'm very impressed with the GR4 and I think it is an amazing street photography camera. That's all I have to share about this Ricoh GR4 and I really like it. What do you think? Do you agree with my sharing? If you've enjoyed looking at my photographs and if you found my sharing beneficial, please consider buying me a cup of coffee or you can contribute directly to my PayPal or you can join as a member on this channel. I'll try my best to share as much as I can and any small contribution goes a long way inspiring me to create more and share with you guys here. Until the next one, please go out and take more photographs. Bye-bye.